Look at that. Special guest. In your face, Mom. I amounted to a special guest once. We're talking about the Level Up. We're talking about Level Up, the Level Up Gaming Retreat. This one, if you missed it, well, you should subscribe for updates on the next event, especially if you live in sort of the eastern seaboard area. It took place in Woodbridge, New Jersey. I believe it's taking place there again. It might take place at a different venue to be a little bit bigger so we can scale up and get more and more people in. But it was a really, really lovely, fun event. So I've had the great, awesome pleasure of getting to go to kind of two of these very similar events in different capacities over the last couple months. I went to the Niagara Board Gaming Weekend, which is a thing that I truly love. If you want to see the games that I played and me talking about my favorite games from that one, there's a couple videos with my friends Colin and Zach. And then this one is going to come to you from this blank white void because I'm just longing to get back there. There's nothing, no color in my life without Level Up. This one was a little bit different because I also was there in a World Series of Board Gaming capacity. Maybe I've talked about it before on this channel. I don't know. Speaking of things I've never talked about, bears have kidnapped my whole family. But I worked for the World Series of Board Gaming, and I have somehow slipped myself into running a lot of their regional qualifiers and the regional events. And so if you ever see some regional events, or if you know of a convention that I can drive to from Toronto that might put me up to run an event because we have no budget on WSBG, let me know and I'll hook it up and we can go hang out and play games. So for half of the time I was running this World Series of Board Gaming event, which was super fun and it's very chill. And so I'll talk a little bit about that, and then I'll get to talk about the games that I got to play at Level Up. But first off, I guess, this is more of a closing statement, but I'll talk about it anyway. These local conventions, I was so skeptical about attending. I really was. I never thought it was interesting whatsoever. I thought, I've got enough friends, we've got enough games, and we have enough tables. So screw conventions. I don't want to pay the hotel fees, which is fair because I hate paying for anything ever because, well, I'm cheap. But having been to more and more of these things, and I talked about this a little bit on the R&R show that came out on Valentine's Day, the top couple games over on Rahdo's channel. At least in the post show or the pre-show, we were talking a little bit about gaming events. These are my favorite events to attend. Niagara Board Game Weekend. Level Up falls in this category, 100%. Something like Dice Tower West. Well, it's getting a bit big. The World Series of Board Gaming, because it's smaller than Dice Tower West, and you get all the perks plus more things. Sorry, Dice Tower West, I love you. I think you're an awesome convention, but World Series is also great. These types of conventions that focus on just playing games and hanging out with people are the best. PAX paled in comparison, like Origins paled in comparison. Anything where there's a bunch of vendor booths, they just pale in comparison. Now, there were a couple vendors here. I never made it over to the vendor hall because I was too busy having fun playing games. And I think that rang true for a lot of people. And there's just something really, really special about these sorts of events. And this one really did a great job in capturing that feel and capturing the fun that can happen with just getting a bunch of like-minded people in a room together and playing games. And having a welcoming, open environment that you could go up to a group who is setting up a game and say, hey, can I join you? And the answer would always be yes. Always, always, always. And so it really, really was lovely. It was lovely to witness. It was lovely to see. And what was even more heightened is I got to hang out with so many people who watch Room and Board, who knew my face, and I got to know your faces. That was so friggin' awesome. It was so cool. It was the friggin' best. It was the best feeling. Everybody who I met was so amazing. There were a bunch of patrons there that I didn't even know were going to be there because they kept it a secret. And then I just got a lovely surprise. And some of them even kept it a secret at the event. and I had to have Alina tell me, Franco. And it was just awesome. It was really, really lovely. Like, and I had such a wonderful time, even if I was working for sort of half of it. And so it's only 3 days, right? It's only a 3-day event. It was from February 2nd to February 4th. And I drove in up on the Thursday. Took me about 9 hours to drive from Toronto. Arrived there, got a little gift basket-y thing. There was a little cupcake on it, which is pretty cool. It's really the only B-roll that I filmed, other than sort of some World Series stuff.
I think they're trying to tell me something. And that is that I'm so sweet. Oh, they'll do an Imperium on that. That's kind of fun. Oh man, I got cream cheese all over my beard. Damn it.
So there you go. And so I got in Thursday. I think some people might have been hanging out playing some games Thursday night. I saw some things set up in the lobby, and that actually gave me great comfort because I was worried that I drove to the wrong place or put the wrong address in. And then I saw some people, Adam Singer, I think from Shelf Clutter, was in the lobby just playing a game of Race for the Galaxy or something. And I was like, okay, good. I'm in the right place. I'm in the right place. So it was about a 9-hour drive. I didn't really do anything Thursday night. I just tried to get some rest because I was going to start up early in the morning and set up for WSBG. I kind of just got my feet wet and got myself sorted out and figured out where on the ground floor I could store the game so I didn't have to run back to my, which every time I left my room, I went the wrong way. Every single time. I'm like, okay, I'm leaving and I'm heading left, and then I had to go right. It was so stupid. Anyway, that was Thursday. Friday morning. So how I ran my mini event, I had a World Series of Board Gaming mini tournament. I might as well tell you the structure of that. Basically, the structure of the World Series of Board Gaming, if you don't know, is you have 16 tournaments. There's 16 games. Let's get a visual aid up here. Event schedule, ring game schedule. Boom. There we go. You have 16 games. These are the 16 games, Wingspan, Great Western, etc. We'll scroll through them. And in the main event, you'll have 16 full tournaments, and the winner of each tournament wins that sort of ring, that Super Bowl ring, that $3,000 friggin' diamonds, name of the game etched on the side, coolest thing in the world. Every time I talk about it, I talk about how when I saw the rings, I was like, I quit. I need to be a part of this. I need to win these. And then I decided not to give up on employment, which is the biggest regret I've ever made because I would have won them all. I would have won all 16. Oh, yeah. Then first time we get a Thanos, we get a WSBG Thanos when we have somebody who gets 5 rings. Oh, baby. You can snap me like a twig. All right. Anyway, there's 16 there's 16 games, 16 tournaments. And so what I did is I only have 1 copy of each game. And so we structured it as it's a 1-round tournament. 4 people can enter. If you win, you go on to the semifinals of the event. If you win the semifinals, you're into the finals. You win a copy of Cosmoctopus. There were some prizes donated by Lucky Duck, who sort of sponsored Level Up. I think it was some leftover from the previous year. And so you can win a game. So it's a free event that you can enter. If you win 2 games, you just win a game. In the semifinals, you play a random game out of the 16 that you haven't won. So if you have won Wingspan and Wingspan's drawn, well, you're sitting at table 2 where Great Western Trail is drawn. I might be all over the place. And then the finals, when the finals happens, you also play another random game. You get to veto some stuff, and the winner will win a ticket to the World Series of Board Gaming. You'll win a single ring ticket valued, $275 prize, and you can come to Vegas and participate. You can do it for free, which is great. So it was free to enter. You could enter online beforehand, and then on the day, I just rassled up people who wanted to play the game. So, for example, nobody wanted to play Great Western Trail. Nobody signed up. And so I said, hey, who wants to play Great Western Trail? And a bunch of people were like, I would, but I don't know how to play. I'm like, I don't care. I'll teach you the game. So I just taught 4 people Great Western Trail, and boom, we had our Great Western Trail champion. Like, that's the vibe of these mini tournaments, is people just wanting to have fun and play these games and lock in some of these games to play over the weekend, which was cool. So my structure was at 10 a.m. and at 2, I had sort of an area where there were 4 tables. And so you played 4 games at 10, 4 games at 2, 4 games at 10, 4 games at 2 for the 2 days, February 2nd and 3rd. And then on the 4th, there were the semifinals in the morning and then the final in the evening. And then if you had to leave that Sunday, it was scheduled so that people could leave and catch their flights and anything like that. So those were my days, basically. Those were my days. To cap it off, though, while still talking about WSBG, I played in one of yeah, I played in one of them. I played in Terraforming Mars. Shout out to Eric and Anne and Meg for letting me play with them. Because here's the thing: I wanted to have a full game, and it was only Eric and Anne. They were a couple. And Eric, they're from Toronto as well. Actually, Eric and I were on a group buy for Broken and Beautiful. I think we first met doing that, the game about Kintsugi, and so we met up at Breakout Con. And we also both have Townsfolk Tussle. We might have been on the same group buy for Townsfolk Tussle. I think we were in that one too. Anyway, group buys are amazing. So, but it was great. Like again, meeting people that, well, I mean, Eric and I had met before, but it was still he and his partner Anne were going to play Terraforming Mars, and it was only going to be a 2-player game. And I was trying to fill it up with other people, and then they're like, "Well, you could play with us." And I was like, "I can't." Like, I can't play in the event for my own tournament, because if I win, and I'm gonna win, then what happens? They're like, well, just second place goes for it. I was like, well, you make a good point. And I was hemming and hawing, and then I said, oh, so what you're saying is that if I didn't play in this game with you, it would really, delegitimize World Series of Board Gaming, and you would hate it, and you would never consider coming to WSBG. And the two of them said, yes, that's exactly what we're saying. And I was like, yeah, so what you're saying is if I do sit down, you have a much greater chance of purchasing a ticket to the World Series of Board Gaming. And they said, yes, we absolutely are. I said, okay. And then we were going to play a 3-player game, and then Meg also wanted to play. She was waiting around, seeing if she could get into Castles of Burgundy, but everybody wanted to play, and everybody showed up for that, because there's always the potential a game runs long, there's a dropout, whatever. And so Meg joined in and played with us, and I sucked. I lost. I came in third. Oh, I was so mad. I was trying desperately to win, but I fell for, I had a really I got tunnel vision, and you can't get tunnel vision in Terraforming Mars. I got tunnel vision on science because I was the science corp, and I drew the friggin' card that lets everything be discounted by 2 in my opening hand if you have 7 science symbols, and it only costs 14 credits. And I got too focused on that and not enough on early game engine development, and I lost out on, I didn't get a single milestone. I was able to steal 2 of the awards, and I thought I was going to get 3, but I made some really poor plays because I was so focused on science, and that killed. And so Meg ended up winning, so that was great for Meg. And Eric also had won Lost Ruins of Arnak, so he actually moved on into the semifinals, and then he moved into the finals. He won his Acquire, so he was in the finals of Dune, so that was cool. It was Toronto represent. But yeah, it was fun. I'm really glad I got to play Terraforming Mars, because I have a lot of fun playing that game, even though it just eats me up that I didn't win. Oh, I really wanted to win, and I didn't do it. And they were they were making fun of me because like, yeah, you really have a lot riding on this game. I'm like, I do. I have my pride. Anyway, that's World Series of Board Game, and that was sort of the event. It was a fun event. Jenna from the Board Game Garden ended up winning the whole thing. You can check out her vlog recap for her feeling, and that was kind of cool. It's cool to see Jenna, who she said in her vlog, she's like, I never felt like I was good at board games or could play them, and then like I won, and that's the really exciting thing about the World Series of Board Gaming, is that one of the double ring winners has sort of described it as March Madness. All it takes is going on a run. You need to win 3 games. You need to really win 3 games to win that sort of tournament ring. You need to win 1 more game after that to win money, up to $25,000, but a minimum of 1,000. And so framing it in that way and being like, yeah, I could go on a run. It's I don't know, it's kind of cool. Anyway, that's enough WSBG talk. I want to talk about the games that I got to play at Level Up, because I got to play a ton, and I'm so happy that I did. I didn't think I would get to play as many as I did, and I didn't think I'd get to play with as many people as I did, and I got to do both of them. So I was so thrilled. Normally in these styles of videos, I'm getting my phone out to check and make sure I remember stuff. But yeah, normally in these types of videos, you go through and you sort of rank the games, and I'll probably give like a light ranking about what was my favorite and what wasn't. But I played a lot of really good games. I'd rather go through chronologically in this one though, and that's more because there were some games that I really enjoyed, and there were a couple games that I thought were they were just okay. And ranking them feels more definitive about like the play. All of the games I played, I had a really good time playing, but all of that was because of the environment that I was in. Really, truly, the environment that Level Up fostered, the awesome people who I got to play with. That was the whole thing, you know. And so I feel like ranking things for my inevitable one that was the least favorite. I don't want to do that because I had what is this? I'm getting emotional. I didn't expect it. Maybe I'm tired. I just had a really lovely time meeting everybody and hanging out with everybody and just like feeling the warmth and love and kindness and generosity. And this is very shocking to me. I guess I had a good time. Yeah, it was just like truly lovely to be in such a warm room filled with genuine, like wonderful people. And I think I'm getting emotional because I want to hammer that point home, and I don't want if I say anything sort of like bad about a game, I wouldn't want that to ever sort of reflect, make anyone think that it was like the company, because it absolutely was not. I just want to make that abundantly clear. Yeah, so let's go through the days. So the first day, WSBG until 4 or 5. But that doesn't mean I didn't get to play games. I got to play a great game of Radlands. I started out with Radlands. Yeah, let's go through the stats. Hope I wrote everything down. Oh yeah, I'm remembering things. Oh yeah, I'm remembering more things. Okay. Yeah, and this may not even be in order because I kind of jotted things down after the case. But yeah, I got to play some Radlands with Raleigh. Shout out to Raleigh. And that was awesome. I really love playing games in between. Did I put Neotopia in here? No, I didn't. Yeah, I forgot Neotopia. That's going in. I won that. I got to get my stats up. Perfect. But yeah, I got to play Radlands. I played Radlands before, but this one, I was really happy to play it again. It kind of hammered home that this is quite a good game. A really good two-player game in that genre. I love the idea that these cards are multi-use. I think that's the key with Radlands. Let's get some visual aids, Chris. Come on. What's this? There's a Radlands tournament at WSBG 2 where you could win some cool money? Okay, cool. No, stop it. You're not on the clock anymore. Yeah, it's 175 for a reason, but honestly, the playmats for Radlands are really good too because this matters, advancing your raiders. Basically, you're going to draw a hand of cards and you can play them in front of you as like people who can then attack and activate their abilities on the next turn and also serve as like defense. And you're defending your 3 locations, which take 2 hits to get destroyed, basically. Or you can play people, you can activate the people that you've already played, or you can discard your cards for one-time abilities. And I think that's a really cool flow. You just draw 1 card every time. And having that choice of, do I spend all of my action points on this? Do I save one for later rounds? Is really neat, I think. I like that you try to build a synergy with your location abilities. Those are all random. I like that you're drawing from a main deck. There's a fun flow and it plays really quickly. It shone in this play a lot more than the first time that I'd played it. I think I played it the first time when I was somewhere for a meeting and I was tired and somebody just pulled it out and I was very excited to learn it, but I was just kind of learning it. And so here, being familiar, a little bit more familiar with the aspects of Radlands made me really enjoy my time a lot more. Hey, I think I even had that person, the cult leader, who just is like sacrificing people. The art style's so cool. The flow of it's really cool. You can have these events that you put into play that there's a ticking timer. And so Raleigh was constantly pushing the raiders forward that just demolished my camps, even though I had people in front of it to defend it. But luckily, I had enough people to do enough things that really ended up working out for me. And so I took the win. So I played that mid WSBG, and that was nice that Raleigh let me get up and talk to people for 10 minutes and then come back and finish this very short game. And I was very appreciative of that because it was fun to play some games in between that. And then after that, myself, Raleigh, and Stacy, shout out to Stacy Everdell, we played Scholars of the South Tigris. And this is cool. Like Stacy, she's one of my patrons as well. Raleigh's one of my patrons too. And I just saw Stacy setting up Scholars, and I said, Raleigh, go over there and learn it. see what's up. And then my event finished, and they hadn't yet started. And I was like, hey, can I play? And then it was like, hey, I know you from YouTube. And so that was like a really fun discovery, and I'd wanted to play Scholars for a long time. Get Radlands off the screen, Chris. Haven't we talked about visual aids? We gotta talk about visual aids. So Scholars of the South Tigris is basically, hey, colorblind people, screw you, you don't get to play the board game. Really, it's all sort of dealing with these colors and creating colors. There's 3 different types of dice. The primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, and you can then smash those dice together to create these secondary colors of dice. Similar to Vindication, you got to smash those colors together to do things. There's no like symbology on the dice. You just know what color it is, or you don't. Scholars of the South Tigris, it was good. It's something that, but it was also bad. You know, I think it overstayed its welcome. It was one of those things that I kind of described in the moment as everything that is good and bad with modern board gaming. It's combo-tastic. There's so many things that you can chain together. There's a lot of fun things that you can do. Give me a player board. Everyone basically has these player boards, and you can play a card from your hand to activate the action. And the actions correspond with things you can do on the main board, and eventually you can unlock things that let you do slash actions, let's say. These are always exist, and then this one's sort of unlockable to let you do multiple things. And then you can reset, and whenever you reset, you get to activate all of these blue abilities in that order. And so it actually does matter the order in which you play your cards, because you're setting yourself up to activate a number of different tracks on the board. These tracks that you can kind of get a glimpse of here on the right. Yeah, right here. That's a better. Let's zoom in even more. Right here in the middle, these tracks, they'll give you things as long as you have chosen to activate them, which I think is a neat idea. There's also this little rondel where you're riding around a circle and a bunch of horses, and this little black marker that you think should block you, but doesn't. But basically, wherever you land, you get stuff. So it's another sort of action selection idea. Over here is where you will have scrolls. These will account for a lot of your victory points. These are your end game objectives, basically, and you can decide what end game objectives you want to go for and work well with your strategy. It'll be like, hey, you score a point for everyone you've moved up on the red track. And obviously that's great if you've been focusing on the red track. If you haven't, then it's a horrible one for you to take. And so that's what all those sort of goals are. And then down here and up here, you can hire translators, scribes, scholars, if you will. And each scholar can turn a different language into another language. And your goal is to get all languages into, I don't know, Hebrew? No, that's not it. Arabic. How can I forget that? I'm a friggin' Arab and I forget it. It's the language of my people. I'm a quarter Lebanese, if you didn't know. But I'm like half Irish, but we don't talk about that. But yeah, so it's all in service of getting these dice to activate that ability. You can see you need a purple, an orange, or a green, so therefore you need those dice to smash things together or have earned those dice of that specific color in order to activate these columns and get the specific thing translated right to Arabic. And you got to do it in one go, so then you got to pay all these people down here to translate it. In addition, anytime you have put someone down here, you can see there's these little markers on all of them, these little sort of circular markers, these influence markers. You then get to take that and put it under one of your actions, so it makes your other action better. Like here, you get to also get rid of a white dice, so that when, I forgot to mention, it's bag building. You're putting your dice in a bag and you're pulling your dice out, right? So the less less white dice, the more color dice you have, and you want to be able to do things with those colors. There's a lot going on, and for the most part, it's fun and interesting, but I do think it ran a little bit long, and we all were kind of like, okay, I think we're done. I think we're done here, which is never something that you want to finish a game with, right? Like, that's not what you want a game to leave you with, that sensation. I'm willing to give it another shot because I think knowing it a little bit better, you could speed through it, but it just felt a little bit overbearing in terms of everything that it was trying to do. It was still fun. Like, it was fun to make those combos, and I had a really good time sort of unlocking the puzzle, and I think there's a lot of replayability here. But at the same time, yeah, it just felt like it kind of ran a little bit long, and we saw everything that we needed to see. But that's also, like, we got down to the very last card of the deck, and we played the short, easy mode. It would have been horrible playing the long mode. But we were taking our time. We were trying to, figure it out. And it was all of our first time playing. And we learned half through the rule book and half from a lovely person who saw us looking at the rule book and came over and just helped. And that's also one thing that I played a lot of this convention, is things that people didn't know how to play or teach. And I really didn't mind it. Some of the ones that people knew how to play or teach, that was nice. It went pretty smoothly. But I just made a decision that, like, I was going to pick games. Well, really, I picked games that, like, literally anytime somebody had a game or they asked me to play, I said yes. So that's my MO for these sorts of conventions. But I picked games that like I wanted to try. And so I like Architects a lot, and I want to play more of those games because people, really rave about them. And so Scholars, I don't know. I think I feel about Scholars the way a lot of my friends feel about Architects, which is that they won't play it with me because they're not like that into it. And I think if Scholars was on my shelf, I wouldn't gravitate to it because it wasn't a home run. But I think it is something that can really get a lot richer in future plays. This is going to be a long video, I guess, because I that's one game. So after Scholars, I think I went to play Feed the Kraken. That's what it is. Somebody said, do you want to play a social deduction game called Feed That? And I said, yes. That's what I said. Feed the Kraken is a social deduction game, kind of along the likes. Oh, that's really nicely painted. Kind of along the likes. Did I do that? It looks like it's something that I would have done, painting all these exceptionally. You don't need these minis whatsoever. You barely need this board whatsoever, but it's fun. The Feed the Kraken plays up to 11 players. We played with 11 players. I had said previously that I'd be interested, and they're like, hey, it's starting now. Come do it. And I said, goodbye, everyone. See you later. And I ran away from everyone very rudely and went to this social deduction game. And so Feed the Kraken is very similar to something like Secret Hitler, if you're familiar. In that there is a potential lack of player agency, which I'll talk about later after I explain the game. You're either the pirates or the sailors or the cultists. The cultists are the sort of wild card faction. There's only two cultists. There's a cult leader and there's a cult follower. They don't know who each other are. The sailors don't know who each other are. The pirates, of course, know who each other are. Now, every sort of mission, every one of these hexes is a decision. You're either going to go straight, left, or right. And some of these things benefit the sailors and some of these things benefit the pirates. You can see kind of on the map. Let's see if I can get a better map. One that's not upside down. Why is every single picture upside down? Or to the side? There we go. That's close enough. So you can see the ship is sailing. And if you get to over onto this side, the sailors win. And if you get over here, the pirates win. And if you get to Cthulhu in the middle, the cultists win. So the cultists are there to sort of like balance the game, basically. But the flow of it is that somebody will be the captain. They will nominate a vice captain and navigator. The captain and the vice captain will draw two random cards. They might be a cultist card, a yellow card that moves just forward, neutral. They might be a blue card, or they might be a red card. And all these cards have different abilities on them as well. Different results, basically. And so you take those two cards, you choose one, and you put it in a box, and then the navigator gets to choose between your card that you submitted and the one that the vice captain submitted. So it's a bit better than Secret Hitler, because in Secret Hitler, it's just the president who gets three and then gives the person to choose two. And there's a a much higher chance that you lose agency here. For here, you still have that chance though, right? Which is what I dislike about the game. It's like if I draw 2 cards and I'm a pirate and I just draw 2 blue cards, well then it doesn't matter that I was able to get on the mission. It doesn't matter that my navigator is also a pirate that we managed to get on the mission. I'm not able to give my team the thing that it needs to win, and you're just screwed, right? Like that's the problem with these games that I find hard to reconcile, but it was still pretty fun. And I desperately wanted to be the cult leader because I thought that would be the most fun. The cult leader's goal is to be sacrificed to Cthulhu. So every time you hit one of these tentacles, you have to throw somebody overboard. And it's close enough to the end that the player elimination doesn't matter that much. But if you throw the cultist leader overboard, the cultists win. So it's pretty hard to win as a cultist. Everybody who had played had said they'd never seen a cult leader win. And so, of course, I wanted to be the cult leader, right? Of course, it was time to join the cult, baby. It was time to join the cult. And so, right from the get, I was the cult leader. And I was able to go onto a mission, and I put in a little cult symbol that we went immediately to the right over here, and then moving forward was like a yellow or a blue. And so I was like, I don't know, I'll pick the yellow because I don't want to pick the blue, which had a negative thing for me. I had to lose a gun or something. They're voting tools. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go to the middle because it's kind of the same. Like, I don't care. And that was my reasoning. And I'm like, I don't know what this thing does. Apparently it's good for the cultists, but like as a sailor, I don't really care. It's probably fine. I'm still moving towards my goal. And so some people started getting suspicious on me. There was one person who was casting a lot of like shade to everyone. And so I had an opportunity to, in the dark, give one person a lot of weapons. And I just was like, okay, I'll just give them all to him. And so immediately I'm like, wow, what a surprise that you've been the one screaming about cultists. And now you've got all the guns. And he's like, I don't know why I got these. I swear you're going to be so surprised when I show you my card. And I said, well, I'm sorry, Alex, but that's just like, you're real sus. And so I was able to get the suspicion off of me early, which was good because I felt it a little bit at the beginning. And then I was able to get the cult cards picked, which apparently are really good for the cultists because I get to turn other people. There are some events in there that let me turn other people into cultists as well. And so I just turned the most trustworthy people into cultists, and nobody really knew. So I was playing with Austin, who designed Veiled Fate. I don't know if we played Veiled Fate that day or the day after, but I'm going to talk about that. I think we played it. Maybe we played that after Scholars. I think we did. Yeah, there was only 3 days. I played Veiled Fate before this. Okay, I'll talk about that after, because I got to play the expansion stuff, and it's pretty good. Oh, it's pretty good. Anyway, so I made Austin a cultist because everybody trusted him, and that was going very swimmingly. And then we kept on progressing. Everyone kept putting him on the missions, and so we were able to like move things subtly towards the tentacles. And then right as things were going to go bad, we got another yellow one in, and I was able to turn another person into a cultist because I was like, listen, I'm going to pick a yellow one here because I have red or I have yellow, and that's my option. And so I picked yellow so I could go closer so that us sailors could win. We would then be one away from winning. People were like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so then I was able to turn the next captain into another cultist right before he needed to choose somebody to be thrown overboard. So basically, I had it set up that Austin was the navigator who got final say, and then I turned, I think, Eugene into my second cultist, who then would, as the captain, get the choice of who to throw overboard. And so Eugene was able to put something in that headed towards the tentacles. Austin was able to play it, and I said, Eugene, wouldn't it be great if I was the cult leader and immediately turned you into a cultist last night? He said, well, since I know I was turned into a cultist last night, off the ship you go. And I said, rise, my cultists, rise. And there was a big old fanfare, and we were all very excited. And the 4 occultists, we rose up and we sacrificed me to the gods. And it was the first time anybody at the table had seen a cult leader win. And so it felt very, very good and very, very fun. So because of that, like, feeling, it was good. But I also think there's sort of an inherent issue with the game, and that is that you have the chance to not have player agency. There's a lot going on. it's fun enough, but it's not my favorite social deduction, and I think I would prefer Veiled Fate or Avalon a lot more. So let's talk about Veiled Fate as well, because we have a Veiled Fate expansion coming out, and I got to get a little sneak peek at that. I saw Raleigh and Andrew of Andrew Shamalama Ding Dong fame, of course. They were setting up Veiled Fate, and I said, hey, before you do that, because we were going to play a game together, like the three of us were going to play a game, and I was like, pick anything, I'm in. And they picked Veiled Fate, and I said, well, listen, I know Austin is here, and he's got the extra stuff for the expansion, and he mentioned that he wanted me to see it, and I could have an opportunity to try it. So I was like, let me get him. Let's just play with him. So we had to wait a little bit for Austin to be freed up, but then we were able to play. Is the expansion on Board Game Geek right now? Yeah, no, Kickstarter. No, it's not on Board Game Geek right now. Okay, so I'll just talk about what's coming. But I think the Kickstarter for this is going to be in about a month. And I know that he was prepping to shoot some really cool footage, because IV Studios, they always shoot like really beautifully designed, like production design. Their production design's awesome. Their videos are really well done, and they really try to show off their games to the best of their ability, as they should, because they're really fun games. Anyway, I'm going to assume you know how to play base Veiled Fate. No, I'm not. I'm going to explain it right now. You're going to have one of these secret gods that you want to ramp up along this track. And you're going to put any gods you want on quests, and you can manipulate them getting points, up or down. But at the end of the game, you want to make sure that your secret god has more points than everybody else's secret god. It doesn't matter if all three of you are last. It matters that you are the least last, and then you would win the game. And so Veiled Fate is a really good game. Like, I have a review of it on the channel. I give it the seal of distinction. I think it's really fun. As always, and Austin joked about it to me. He's like, you're going to think it's too expensive. But I'm like, well, yeah, yes, I do. But that doesn't take anything away from like how fun their games are. Like, I played Fractured Sky and Veiled Fate, and I highly recommend both of them. I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. And I'm looking forward to playing Moonrakers and Mythic Mischief when I get a chance to. Anyway, the expansion stuff adds in a bunch of different modules. And so we played with the Hades, Hydra, Hexy? I don't know. A female Hades is on the board and in play. And the female Hades is a jealous sort of god that she'll just kill any god that's ahead of her in points at the end of the game. And so no longer, because one of the problems, and they said they were trying to address some of the problems of the game, and this was also a criticism of mine as well, that you can just sort of get ahead, and there becomes a time where everybody can kind of know who everyone is, and that takes a bit of the fun of the game out of the way, because one person's just like super far ahead and you can't catch them, right? And so with Hydra, that's what it is, Hydra, we're going to call it that. With Hydra, that sense of intrigue sustains itself for the remainder of the game. The god powers have also been tweaked and balanced, which is great, because you never used them until the third age because your cards were way too valuable, your voting was way too valuable, and now it's not the case either. And you also, whenever you go into the abyss, into the pools over here, there are special Hydra cards that you can take and put into your hand that are god powers. But the thing about these god powers is that the person who spends the most of them loses a point at the end of the game. But sometimes that can be good, because if you're ahead of Hydra and then you've used so many powers that you then move behind her and into first place, like somebody really tried hard to do and didn't get. I was 1 point away from getting that glorious finish. It can be really, really fun. Oh, I'm not even showing you stuff. God, come on. This is the picture. Sorry, it was on me for that whole time. Yeah, the abyss is over here. This is where you can get your sort of Hydra points. Wrap around the board. These are your quests. These are your colors that I was talking about. My apologies. Visual aids. Have we not said this lesson enough? So basically, I really like the changes, and there are a bunch of other like little mini expansions that they're implementing that are going to be great. I think, like, just objectively great. This game's already great, and these expansions seems easy to implement. Fixes, like, it's quote unquote fixes, right? I still think base Veiled Fate is completely fine and is a completely good game, and you don't need these changes whatsoever. You could, I don't know, you could probably homebrew them to try them out yourself too. But I really like the tweaking of the god powers a lot. And I like playing with Hadra. I like this potential that happens because she gains points every time somebody's smited, and it benefits you to smite yourself and then move yourself, or smite any god and then move yourself out of the pool so you can get those super powerful powers. Like I tried to stock up on portals so that I could just manipulate and switch things around in the end game and not have to worry about it and just try to time out my points. Didn't work out, but it was like really fun to try to match that. A lot of the fun of this game is trying to guess who the other people are and bluffing who you are as well. And so it's a great game. It was super fun. Raleigh killed us all for his first time playing. And we were all like, yeah, we've played Veiled Fate a million times. And he's like, oh, well, I win. So he sharked us, really. But yeah, it was a really fun time. That's what I did after Scholars. Okay, so that was my first day, right? I did WSBG stuff. I played Radlands. And then I got to play Scholars, Veiled Fate expansion, and Feed the Kraken. 3 new things. Really cool. Really happy I did that. On the second day, I started off, I think, then with Terraforming Mars. No, on the second day, I also got to play a couple things in the midst of the games. I got in a game of Neotopia, which there will be a review coming out on the channel pretty soon. I hadn't played this at 4 players. I played it at 2, and I wanted to see how it played at 4 before doing a review. It's a really lovely little abstract game that it has a similar feel to Azul. I saw Annika setting it up, and I just slid over and I said, please let me play. I'll teach it to you, but then I'm also going to leave and do World Series stuff. So I left while it was being scored. I said, hope I won. And then I never went back. And then I went back half an hour later and they're like, hey, you won. I was like, oh, that's great. Sorry, I wasn't there to clean up and I had to leave and do work. But it was really lovely. Like, again, a sort of short game. Played really great at 4, played great at 4, plays great at 2. A really lovely abstract. It's got Kinesia scoring. Basically, you're making patterns out of these different colors, and you want to get a balanced score in each of the cities because your lowest score is multiplied by 3. But this actually was the first time where I saw that I think my lowest score was lower than someone else's. So I think I had 12 as my lowest score and someone else had 14, but I had enough of a difference. Like if they were sitting around like 14, 15, 15, and I think I was like 12, 18, 19 or something like that. And so I had enough of a buffer, just enough to pull out the win. And so I thought that was cool because I always assumed that it was going to be the person who had the highest lowest score would win, and that wasn't the case with this. So yeah, Neotopia was really nice. It was surprising to me how much I enjoy it, and very simple, easy. You do 2 things on your turn. Either you take more objectives or you add a tile into an adjoining city. So this blue one, for example, could go up north or down south. Fun little game. Glad I played that. Oh, also, I got to play Fluffy Dragons. Is it on? It's not. Alejandro. Why get it up there? Come on. It's coming out to Kickstarter. It was. I mentioned it a bit in PAX. I met Alejandro at PAX while he was demoing it, and he gave me the pitch for Fluffy Dragons. I was like, yeah, it sounds fun. It's like a simple light bluffing game. And then I'm really glad that I got a chance to play it again in the midst of doing World Series stuff because it was a lot more fun than I expected. It was one of those things where I was like, oh, this is better than the pitch, right? Like this, and the pitch was good. Like the pitch made it seem interesting, but it was actually quite enjoyable in terms of bidding. You're just trying to bid and read your opponent's intentions on multiple fronts. So your opponent will say, I'm going onto this element. And you can say, I think you're lying. And then also you can position yourself on the board to take gems away from people where you think they are. And so it's a real line in front of you, in front of me, in front of you situation where there's one special black gem that's worth a lot of points that's on a point in this circle. And so if you go to that circle, you get the black gem. But I know you're going to go there, so I'm going to go behind you so that then I can just steal the gems from you because you can steal whatever you want. And then I know you're going to do that, so instead I'm going to pretend that I'm going to get the black gem, go a step behind you, and then steal from you as you think you're stealing from me. But then people can anticipate that and bid on me saying, no, you're lying, you're not going where you said you were. And if I'm lying and people catch me in that, then they get to take gems from me. So it's a whole, like, there's a bunch of different exchanges, and it's those exchanges that make it work. So it was really fun. I think it's probably going to be a cheap price on Kickstarter. I hope so. I don't know what the price is. Cheapy me. I mean, I bet it's going to be 25. You know what I mean? It's just a bunch of little gems, a little set of cards. So if it's 20, I'll be happy, because I think it's going to be. And if it's more than that plus shipping, that's going to be too much. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll cover it when it gets to crowdfunding. I'll talk about it more then. But it was fun. I was very happy that I got to play that. Yeah. So then that was Friday. On Saturday, oh no, that we're in Saturday right now. See, this is bad. So Saturday then continued. I played Terraforming Mars, which I already talked about. It was pretty fun. Must have played something in between. Oh yeah, then I played Unsettled. I played Unsettled with Andrew, Shamalama Ding Dong, and two other people, Frank and Jessica, I think. I'd never played Unsettled before. Andrew had a friggin' bomb 3D printed insert where maybe it's on here. It better be. Because one of the bad things about Unsettled is that they come with all these extra planets, and there's a lot of bloat, and there's a lot of bloat on your shelf. And they're like, yeah, you can fit 2 planets in the box. That's it. But there is a 3D printed insert out there where you can fit everything in the box, like all 9 planets. You can see all these different planets in their little containers. It just contains cards and additional tokens for it. So there's no reason why they shouldn't all be able to fit in the box, and this 3D printed insert does that. So throw that original thing out in the garbage and then play regular Unsettled. And Unsettled was fun. It didn't blow me away. I don't think I would be interested in getting it, but it's a nice co-op game, a simple action efficiency game. And we almost lost. Like, we were kind of meandering around, and we ended up almost losing. You start at one spot. There'll be a bunch of different planets that are shuffled and dealt out randomly. And you go and you explore these planets while trying to pursue a narrative-based objective. And so there'll be a number of different scenarios that you can play from the planets. It's kind of framed as there are 4 different timelines. You know, if you landed on the planet at a certain point, this might be your mission, or the inhabitants might interact as such. And so you have the randomness of the maps, you have the different scenarios that you can play. But some of the scenarios, it's about reacting to the situation that happens, right? Like going along for the ride. And that was enjoyable. And how you do actions on your turn is everybody has this player mat, and you'll have these 3 dice that are ticking down. These pips on the dice are sort of the energy that you have. And so whenever you put a dice down, you tick it 1 lower. So this one would have started as a 2, that one would have started as a 1, because it's going down. And then here, when you always have to rest 1 dice, and that moves it up. But essentially, you're losing 2 points and you're getting 1 point. So eventually, your resources will dwindle unless you do additional stuff. You do this to move around, get items that you need on the planet, get special abilities, that sort of. It was fun. It was fun enough. It didn't blow me away as a game system, but I had a great time playing. So yeah, really glad I got a chance to play it, because I know a lot of people have raved about Unsettled, and I thought it was a good time. I think there's a if you like co-ops and you like action efficiency and you like narrative driven passages, that's what this game is. And if all of those things like get you really excited, absolutely check it out. Like, this will be your bread and butter. For sure, I can see it being the bread and butter for a lot of people. For me, like, we just did the introductory mission, right? So it's hard to evaluate it, really. But I think because you have to buy all of the separate planets, they don't all come in the base thing. I'm worried that the scenarios would get stale, because I wouldn't ever want to play that first one again, because I know how to do it. And I can see it being a little less interesting every time you know the puzzle of what it is. So that's just a consideration for Unsettled. But after Unsettled, we played, I swear to God. Oh, here are my visual aids. I swear this isn't a bit. It should be a bit. It really should be a bit. It's not a bit. Where was the pips that I was talking about? Over here, these are the pips that kind of ticked down. It's been a long day. I got long days now. I'm in rehearsal. In Nova Scotia for Villains Theatre. We're doing a show. And so, of course, I got to do triple duty to get everything off the ground. Anyway, these are the pips of the dice, and then here's the map of how it's going to be divvied out. So you start over here, and then you sometimes have to get over here or vice versa, exploring the maps, flipping things over as you go, completing those narrative stages. Sorry about that. We're not moving away. We're not going back to the big screen. Thanks a lot, Fluffy Dragons. If only you had visual aid, I wouldn't have had to go back to me. Next, though, we played, I think, I was gonna say my favorite game of the convention, but that's coming up after this. But this is my favorite new game that I played. This is Wonderland's War. We played it with the super deluxified copy, and it was just awesome. It's really good. It's really, really good. Believe the hype. If you like bag building and push your luck, like, it's friggin' fun. I'm gonna try. I mean, like, the Luxified components are so nice, but I know it's super expensive. So I think the retail is like 63. And I hope that if I get the retail, and I probably would get the retail, I hope I don't need all the extra stuff. But yeah, it was really, really fun. Everybody gets their own player board like this. These are covered up, and you can get to remove them and get unique abilities for your specific character. There's been an update as well because the Mad Hatter sucked and the Jabberwocky was overpowered, and so those have been changed as well. You can get a mini expansion. These are normally standees, and when we get to the board, I'll tell you how to play the game. Look at that. It's pretty simple. There's 2 phases, basically. This will have to do. Aha, this will do. There's 2 phases. Oh no, there's 2 phases. There's a tea party phase. You can see all these little tea platters and these cards around here. That creates kind of the majority of the time. And then there's a bag pulling phase where you're pulling things out of your bag. You're pushing your luck. You're deciding when you stop. You don't want to bust. So the tea party, you're going around. You're getting chips that you can put into your bag, essentially. Or you're not getting chips to put in your bag. You're getting upgrades or stuff instead. I thought I was really behind because I got only upgrades and really didn't bag build, but I ended up doing pretty well. Then you move on to this area. Each one of these cards is going to give you a certain number of troops, and you can put them in various places on the map. These tell you in round 1, this place is worth 4 points for the winner. Round 2, it's worth 8 points. Round 3, it's worth 8 points. So there's a varying number of points that each place is worth. And so long as you have one person in that area, you can draw something from your bag. You can pull it out and you can add to your force. And the person with the highest force wins all the points. But there's also an incentive to stop at certain points on the track. Up here, you can see that they're at 2. There's this little forge symbol, and it lets you forge things on your personal player board. You can see that there are tokens down here on the Jabberwocky's board. Oh, this is the old. This must be a really old version. I don't remember these abilities whatsoever. Oh yeah, that seems really powerful. Mine was whenever I take something that has a poison chip on it, I can put poison chips out there, and they don't affect me, but they act as bad things in other people's bags. Whenever I took that, I got 1 extra troop on the board as well. But yeah, whenever you forge a chip, you take it and you put it in these slots and you get to do a thing. So here you can increase your leader's strength. Whenever you hit the end of the track, you get a 3 value chip that you get to put in your bag, which can also chain into your special abilities. Here you can get more people to put on the board, which was pretty important because I was running out of people. And then down here, your castles that you end up putting on the board, whenever you win a battle, you can put a castle in that place. They're worth points at the end. You can make them worth even more points. So I managed to get mine up to 6, and that ended up helping me take the win. So that was fun. That was a really, really fun game. We kind of played that into the Sunday night. And then I had promised to play and to teach some people Avalon because Stacy had known that it was one of my favorite games. It's in my top 10, and I'm a man of my word. I'm an honest, honorable servant of Arthur. That's all I am. I'm on the side of good. I'm a good boy. And so I had to play some Avalon and teach a crew Avalon. So we had a 6-player game to start, and then we played a 7-player game once we'd all kind of gotten the hang of it. And friggin' man, oh man, were those games fun. Especially the 7-player. It was, we did play with the big box though. No, we played with this version. I think we played with this version. Yeah. This is the better art anyway. But these games were really good. Our 7-player game lasted a very long time. A standard amount of time for Avalon. Not 30 minutes. About an hour and 53. That's the average. And both of these games were so good. The first game I was Merlin, and I had to really juggle between giving too much information and then also being teacher, right? Like an inherent advantage, I think, when you're teaching the game of Avalon that I try to discount, that people are turning to you for the rules, right? So I try to emphasize, okay, I'm putting my rules hat on. Now I'm playing a game too, right? And so to get both of those things going is important. But I was Merlin, and there was this one great moment where Andy, one of the guys, Andy around the table was good, and I knew that he was good. And good had gotten 2 points, and he said, "Well, look, it's now or never." And I'm like, if you're a good person, which I know you are, I'm like, you're saying it's now or never for the good team when literally they have 3 more chances. Bad hadn't gotten any points. But good had 3 more chances to get a point, one single point. And it was like, it's now or never for good. If they don't get it now, it's never. I was like, you have to be bad, and I have to call you out as being bad for saying that, even though I know we're going to lose this because I'm ending up putting a bad person on the team. It was super funny, but the second game was even funnier. I ended up being bad. The person who had just joined was bad, but he knew how to play. And then one of the guys who was bad the time before was bad again. And so we had it felt like we had a really cohesive team. There were a couple mistakes made on our part. It was tough to suss things out because me and my bad compatriot were put on a team, and I had to basically say, listen, I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to put good in again. I looked directly at him. I'm like, I'm putting good in again because we both succeeded a mission and good was about to win. I'm putting good in again. So I hope no one fails it. It was pretty ballsy, and I probably would have gotten caught in another game. But we didn't get caught. We managed to put one fail in when there was 2 of us on the mission. And that generally is the kiss of death for the good team. It's really tough to get back on board from there. But that one was super fun because I don't know, it when Avalon hits, it friggin' hits. And this one was just so good. Everybody around the table was laughing. Everybody was having a great time. We were sussing each other out. We were saying, no, I think you're bad. I was like, oh, come on. There was one moment, Veronica, who was so quiet in the first game. And then in this game, when we started pressuring her, she just burst out into the biggest laugh ever. She's like, no, my friends call me Giggles. My nickname is Giggles. I swear I just laugh. And I'm like, okay, you're bad. Yeah, I tried to set her up as a scapegoat. And it was just so funny that she just seemed so guilty. And it was so fun and funny to watch because I knew she was good. She knew she was good, but she couldn't do anything to stop it, or to stop her from looking just so unbelievably guilty. So evil ended up taking it. Merlin had their work cut out for them, and that one was it was just a really nice, fun game that I didn't mind staying up until 3 a.m. playing. Because it was just, it flew by. The time flew by, and it was just another example of great people just having a fun time. And then so I got up at 8 a.m. the next day. I was pretty tired. It was the semifinals of WSBG, and then the finals. I didn't manage to get to play anything during the semifinals. I had to kind of watch and teach some stuff, etc. But in the finals, I managed to sit down and play a game of Watergate while that was going on with Tim Riel from the Code Nation Nerd and Correct, which I think April 25th I might be on that. I'll keep you all posted. I'll try to keep you posted, but that's always a fun show to do over on Twitch, playing Codenames Live. So it was really nice to hang out with Tim as well. I didn't hang out with a lot of content creator people or friends or that, and I liked it that way. I wanted to hang out with people who I didn't really know. But Tim and I had never seen each other in real life. We just have hung out online. So it was nice to make that sort of personal connection and hang out and play Watergate, which I never played before. And I had a really fun time playing. Really, really nice back and forth. The powers on the cards feel fun. Again, visual aids. Yeah, you have this tug of war happening. I don't usually really like tug of war, actually. So I didn't expect it to be that enjoyable. But it was pretty fun. I'd be interested to play as Nixon next time. I was the the journalist, which is the easier one to do. So Tim gave me the easier one to wrap my head around. And you're basically playing cards to manipulate these tracks and put the evidence on the board and try to connect two people to Nixon to whistle blow on Nixon, and that's how you can get it going. So yeah, Watergate was fun, and then we got to play Art Society. So Tim and I played Art Society as well with Grant, Lion, and somebody else. It's almost as late here now as it was when I was playing Avalon. Yeah, I've just clicked on this name even though I'm here. Art Society was kind of fun. It kind of reminded me of like a polyomino For Sale, if you've played For Sale. I just played For Sale recently in Niagara Board Game Convention. Oof, this is a nice little display here. Basically, you want to arrange your art gallery in the most pleasing fashion, and the way you do that is putting frames that are the same next to each other and making sure that the symbols down below don't match, because that would be a faux pas. It would be a stylistic faux pas, and also adding these little ornamentations in there. And then you're sort of bidding on what you take. Every time somebody's the auctioneer, they choose the shapes that they want to be out, and then you reveal what sort of the symbols there are on them. But the catch is, whatever symbol isn't taken, that increases the value of those symbols moving forward. And so you really want to be cognizant of that, because if you get those symbols, the most valuable symbols, not only are they worth 5 points each, if you get them in like your eye line, you get an additional 3 points. So it can be very significant. You also have numbers from 1 to 20 that you want to really juggle. And Grant managed to play all of his low ones really early, and so only had high numbers going into the second half of the game. And I was very scared of him because he could take whatever he wanted. But it's also great because that flow could work the other way. He ran out of time. He didn't time it out enough to capitalize on the numbers. And there's such a wide swath of numbers. Really getting those wins in when you're just one over the other person feels pretty cool. Yeah, it was nice. Really nice production quality. Very solid design. If you like polyominoes and bidding and the game For Sale, really, I definitely check this one out. It was solid, and like production design and the production quality was really good. I was quite impressed. I didn't expect to be as impressed as I was. And yeah, that one was pretty fun. And so finally, the last game that I ended up playing, the con had sort of shut down. I was so tired at this point because I was up all day and ran the event. But there were a couple people who were like, "Listen, we got to get a game in with you, David and Caitlin." I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I saw them setting up Last Light. I was like, yeah, let's get Last Light, because I've really wanted to try Last Light. I've heard such great things. Everybody's been talking about Last Light, especially there's a reprint of the campaign coming up. And so we played an 8-player game of Last Light. In this 4X game that should take an hour, we played an 8-player game that supposedly also should take an hour, and it took us 3 hours. This one also, I think, overstayed its welcome a bit. We had a lot of fun doing it. Like, it was a great group to play with. I liked the alien races that we had. I got to play the Nagao. And it was just these, I don't know, maybe there'll be a picture of all the different races. Maybe not. Let's see if I can just look it up, because you got to see these. They're like, they're monk cobras. I was like, I'm going for the friggin' monk snakes. And their special ability is that anytime they do the trade action, they get something a little bit better. And they give something a little bit better too. So I was like, that's perfect. I just announced to the board, I was like, hey, everybody needs to trade with me because I'm able to give you the best return on your investment. And I'll help my friends. I'll help my friends and I'll hate my enemies, you know? And so it was just, I mean, it was really fun because anytime somebody gave me something, we both just go, Nagao. And it was just became this fun like language around the table. So that aspect of it was quite fun. The game itself was long, and I think that's not necessarily the game's fault. I think it could have been quicker. There were 8 of us. There was some analysis paralysis and slow down of some stuff as we navigated everything through. Most things are simultaneous play, and I think that's how it can be done in an hour, but we're going through the motions of moving things around, which it felt like you couldn't do simultaneously, but maybe when you're better at the game you could. So the length was an issue, but that's not like, it's not something you can't get around. What I think my main issue with this one, which like it really breaks my heart to say, like I was so looking forward to playing this, and I don't know if I enjoyed it that much, which is a shame. Like I think it looks so friggin' cool, and I love the concept. But here's my qualm with the game. I'm just trying to find the player aid or the, I mean, like my qualm with the game is the rulebook was friggin' atrocious, and the cards themselves, like I've never seen such poor rulebook in my life. Really, this is the first edition, so the second edition they might clear it up. But even things as simple as there are these like mining extractors, and in some, on one card, like your 6 cards, one of them refers to it as an extractor, and the other refers to it as like a mining building. And just the fact that there isn't like a consistency between this language that wasn't caught by Gray Fox is absurd to me. It's really wild that there were these sort of like little inconsistencies in the game. It's just like pretty inexcusable in terms of it being readable and accessible to players. And they were trying to like, everyone was trying to learn through the rule book, and people watched a how to play. We need to just go off of that, because the rule book itself was not, it wasn't great. Wasn't great. I'm interested to read through the rulebook on the GameFound page and Crowdfunding Countdown, whatever it comes up. But it just was like, it was really inaccessible for like 8 players. Now it was 8 players who are at the end of their gaming weekend who are all tired. Like, that's fair. And I was very tired at this point. Like, I was really trying to perk up, but I was losing so much steam by the end of it. Especially as the hours sort of dragged on. I guess I'll use that picture of Roy because he's at least holding the cards. Anyway, you have 6 cards. You have 6 command cards. You have 6 cards that you get to put down, and they determine what actions you can take. Yeah, you can kind of see them right here. The command number 6, the refresh, etc. And so they all do different things that you can do with your spaceship. You can move your ships around. You can extract resources from planets. You can build on those planets, or you can build ships, right? You can, whenever you move, you also have the option to attack. You can upgrade tech for your ships, and you can refresh. You can play this card to score points at that time that you play it, and to pick up all your other cards. But the only way for you to pick up your refresh card is when everybody else plays the refresh card. When everybody plays the refresh card, the stuff in the middle, the circles, the cool globes, which are pretty, they're neat. They move, right? Everything rotates a little. It doesn't really matter that it rotates. It's just fun that it rotates. There aren't really that many strategic implications of it rotating, other than it might put you in front of somebody who hasn't punched you. But the issue with this is that you can't get your refresh card back until everybody plays it. And so because of this was my main issue with the game. Because of this, it sort of hamstrings your strategy in terms of the actions that you get to do. Like, everybody's going to get to do the same things at approximately the same rate, right? We have one chance to build a mining colony. We have one chance to move our ships. We have one chance to research. And so it really limits you, or limits the ability of being like, play, refresh, play, refresh, play, refresh, trying to like speed those little points, right? Finding that balance of like, I have 1 point right now, and I'm just going to try to like refresh before anybody can do it. It kind of eliminates those zany strategies. I'm like, I'm just going to tech up and just like try to spin that forward. And I'm sure it's there for a reason. I'm sure it's there for balance purposes, and that it was tried that you could always refresh, and that it didn't work in playtesting. But for me, it just makes it made it really uninteresting, especially when there are techs out there that can improve those abilities. And there are techs out there that certainly can't improve those abilities. So one player around the table had a tech that let him move his ship 2 spaces. And in a game where there's no real way to combat that, that was just like, okay, you now get to explore double than anybody else. You just get that for some reason. Why do you get that? Because you drew a random card out of the deck. And then there were players who, when they explored, they got to put a mining extractor down on a planet, and owning mining extractors on planets, that's sort of a win condition. Well, it's not a win condition, but it's a point condition of a card in your hand. And it's like, okay, well, congratulations, you're just one step ahead to getting that thing because you explored this token at the right time, right? And so because of those things, those things aren't inherently bad to discover. In fact, they make games really exciting, I think. They make games like, oh yeah, I've got this cool special ability, like I love that sort of thing. But because there's no way to really combat it from a tempo standpoint, it just felt, people have described it as really swingy, and I think it's really swingy. But I think it's not swingy in the big swing ways. Like, I was hoping it would be really swingy because there was a time where I spent all my time, I got to trade up pretty quickly. I got a lot of my ships out on the board. I just made a beeline for the center of the galaxy, or if I stayed there when everybody played a refresh, I would get a point for every ship there. So I put 10 of my ships in there, and I was going to get 10 points, and it was going to feel really good. And I knew I could do it because nobody else was even close, because I had just made that my decision. Like, that's my plan. That's what I'm going for. Oh, until, sorry, the tech person, the person who had the tech that let their spaceships move to, managed to move all of their spaceships 2 spaces into the center and just obliterated me. And that's fine. Like, I'm fine getting obliterated. I'm not salty about that. In fact, I was like, no, obliterate me this way, because then the game can end sooner. Because by that time it was hour 3, and I was very tired and needed to sleep before I drove home the next day. So like that part I was fine with, but I think it comes down to that tempo, right? That ability to not be able to combat things. So that was my last light experience, which was a real shame, because I was really, really looking forward to playing it. But I still had fun, right? I still had fun. You still are able to play with the people around the table made it. Again, emphasizing that, you know, it was just a blast to play with all these people. So yeah, that was it. That was Level Up. It was a fun gaming weekend. It was a good birthday. The final day was on my birthday, which was fun. I didn't really tell anybody about it because I don't know. I just feel weird about telling people that sort of thing, because it feels like I'd be fishing for stuff. You know what I mean? Like fishing for oh, happy birthday. Like, I know you wish me a happy birthday, whatever. Like, I like to make other people feel good, and that's fine. I got to go and work at a board game event on my birthday and play some cool games with cool people. And so it was a great day. It started with Wonderland's War and Avalon. It was an awesome day. Come on. Even though the next day, I do this every time. I stay up too late and I'm too tired. But yeah, like it was a fun event. It was a fun event. What more can I say? Last Light was a bit disappointing, unfortunately. And I don't know. I'll be interested to maybe talk to Roy about it and see, like, hey, like, why is this the decision? You know? Or I'll be interested to read through the rule book too. There's always a chance that we might have missed something on it being our first play. So I'll want to do my due diligence in that as well. But yeah, that was one that just like really didn't hit for me. And I think that was surprising, because everybody's been saying really good things about it. And for me, it just, I really thought it would hit, and it didn't. Oh, and the marbles, the planets, they obstructed the view too much, and they made grabbing the little tokens under them too fiddly, you know? They just kind of detracted a bit. The deluxe, I'm always like, you don't need to get deluxe, but the deluxe here made the board a lot harder to read, especially at that 8-player count. Maybe it's my fault for playing an 8-player count as the first game. It could be, but you know what? I wanted to hang out with the most people as I could, and that's what did it. So to finish off, if you're still here, this has been a long one, and thanks for sticking with me. I hope that I've conveyed my enjoyment of these sorts of events to you, and I really am surprised at how much I enjoy these sorts of conventions. I had a friggin' blast. I was so happy to get to play with so many people from YouTube, from here in the Room and Board community. Like, y'all are the friggin' best. It's the truth. It's the truth. Pat yourselves on the damn back. If you were jerks, I wouldn't be saying it. But I like y'all, and even the people who didn't watch Room and Board, well, I liked them a little bit less, but you know, they were still cool because they were at Level Up. It's a thing that if you're in the area, or you can drive to it, that Niagara Board Game Weekend, if you're on the East Coast, either of those, Breakout in Toronto, it's another similar vibe to this. They're great places to be. If you're on the West Coast, There's one in Portland. I think there's one in Portland that I've heard good things about. I want to look into Geekway to the west. I'm trying to get a WSBG event there too. Yeah, and anywhere that you like to go, let me know. Like that has the similar vibe. Let me know, because I will contact them. You know what? You should contact them. Tell them that you want a WSBG event so that I can justify going. I can run something and we can play some games. Anyway, it was a great time. Highly recommend going. It was well run, I thought. Even if there were like a lot of things on offer, too many things on offer when people just wanted to sit and play games. But I know that the hotel venue gave them a bit of grief in terms of misquoting actual measurements of space, which is like the one thing that they needed to be accurate on, is the amount of space that they have. But I think they still like pivoted and made it work. So from my perspective, I thought my event went really well. It was very well attended. Everybody, it was fun. I was able to have a very full event for WSBG, and then I was able to have a very full dance card afterwards playing games. So to everybody who I played games with, thank you for making it an awesome weekend. I hope you had as much fun as I did. And for those that I didn't get a chance to play with, well, hey, we'll do it next time. It'll be great. Just flag me down. Oh yeah, the one I didn't get to play on Attack on Titan. Damn. I was so bummed, because somebody messaged me on Instagram. They were like, "Hey, I'm coming to level up. Do you want me to bring Attack on Titan?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do, but I'm running this event, so like I might be distracted, but like you could bring it." And then that was interpreted as like, "Nah, don't bring Attack on Titan. I won't have time," which was a bummer. And then they brought it the next day, because when I talked to them, I was like, "No, I love Attack on Titan. Play it." And then they brought it the next day. And I was mid game in Art Society, and so like I couldn't play it. Like I didn't want to make them wait for me. I would never, like I've said that so many times to people, but I was able. They played it close enough that I was able to go and do like a quick teach and be there to revel in their success. So I hope they defended the wall. Tatake, tatake. They're like, "Give me a good Sasagayo." I was like, "Yeah, give your hearts, Sasagayo, Sasagayo." Anyway, I was hyped. I was friggin' hyped to see people playing Attack on Titan, the deck builder game. It's awesome, and I hope they had a great time doing it. I wish I could have played with them, because that would have been a friggin' blast, but I didn't. But what can you do? You're never going to be able to play everything at these events, right? It's all, your eyes are always going to be bigger than your stomach, but you can be excited for the things that you do get to play, and I'm excited for the things that I did get. So I'm going to end it here. Thanks everybody for being here, truly. And I hope to see you at various events. I just think this is a chance to reflect upon how awesome the community is. Like there's a lot of you. There's over 14,000 of you out there who have tuned into Room and Board at some point. And like every person who I've met who I've gotten the lovely, gracious opportunity to meet have reinstilled my faith in humanity. Truly, yeah, you're all great, really. And it was a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And if you're on the fence, go to your local con, go to your local game convention. There's a ton of them out there. Like it doesn't have to be Level Up. Come if it's convenient, but like doesn't have to be Niagara, it doesn't have to be World Series, doesn't have to be Dice Tower West, you know? There's a ton out there filled with people who are part of your tribe. They are your people, they are our people, and just a bunch of big friggin' nerds. And it's just a joyous thing to be a part of. So I'm just super grateful to everybody. Love you all. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day and you play some fun games. My name's Chris George, and you know what? You know what I've got for you? I have got a catchphrase to no. Oh God! Oh, I thought I had one. It was on the little tip of my little tongue, and now it's gone. I don't have a catchphrase anymore. But maybe one day, maybe in person, you'll know the mystery. Get lost. I'm going to bed. That would be a pretty good one.